All class, week number, what is this, week 4? It's week 4. Moorish Holy Temple of Science of the World, Temple number 2F in Delaware Territory. Islam?
Islam.
Before we get into today's questions, let's go back over some of the things we previously went through, see who's been studying. Question, John said, what's American? Definition wise. Nah, I need this from the dome. If you don't know it, just say you don't know it. Add.
A landmass.
American.
Oh, American. It's a citizen or an inhabitant of the continent of North America.
So, Constitution. Crystal.
Constitution is it's a document. I'm trying to think of the right words to how to describe it. It's a document that specifies the order of things, how things should run, right? Such as government and, law of land.
What's the purpose of a constitution?
To protect the rights of a nation.
Bingo. State. Dante. You gotta take these definitions, when we do these classes, you gotta actually start studying throughout the course of the week. It's like you're going to school. And this ain't even as boring as school, because in school, you're gonna be in the classroom for countless hours listening to a boring teacher where you're trying to obtain a certain grade from so that you can have some particular piece of paper that says I have a degree in this so that you can get a good job somewhere, hopefully, allegedly. Because a lot of times you get that degree and you don't get no job unless you got that degree in. I've seen it happen a million times over. I know people that's living proof of that. After putting all those hours in at school and studying to pass this test. Now, these particular tests that's going on in here is for your own personal protections. The purpose of these classes, or the purpose particularly of this law class, is so that we can secure economics without having to rely on European school curriculums for our children and us. We shouldn't have to run to them for no finances or jobs. We should have them running to us for finances and jobs. Because that's how it was at one point in time. We need to get back into that. And the first way to start is by studying. They didn't just wake up one day and say, we're going to establish universities and then start building them all over the place. They had to initially start somewhere. And the first place they started was knowledge. They had to learn exactly what was going to be taught in those universities. Then in turn, they had to learn how they was going to establish the university, how they're going to be able to get this, that, and the third to put things in order, or constitutions, just like she said. Constitutions are not only limited to law and government. Constitutions exist within yourself and within educational curriculum. Jurisdiction, how many of them are there? Add.
3.
What are those 3 called?
Personal, subject matter, and territorial.
What is personal jurisdiction, Dante? Absolutely, that's 100% correct. What's subject matter jurisdiction? Tahir.
Jurisdiction over the nature of the case.
100% correct. What's territorial jurisdiction? Chris?
jurisdiction within that territory.
100% correct. What is color of authority? Anybody. That's open for anybody.
Authority that appears to be authority, but not really isn't.
100% correct. Classification. Anybody. That's up to anybody.
Classification?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classification. What's the definition of classification?
Oh,
Hang on. Some definition of classification. Anybody?
To categorize?
Anybody else? Definition of right. I don't need you to give me the definition from the law dictionary, just
all right.
from your own personal.
The will that you're born with from God, the privileges, I mean not privileges, but the status of existence given to you by God.
Bingo. What's the definition of privilege? Once again, I don't need the legal definition.
Given to you.
Bingo.
Taken away from the time.
Right.
Bingo. So what's the difference between a right and a privilege? In accordance with the definition that Ad just gave, and in accordance with the definition that Mosalt just gave.
Right, you're born with privileges, not
And where does privileges come from?
those who believe in
Man.
authority.
Y'all both right. Privileges come from governments. Rights come from creators.
So I got a question about that. I was under the assumption that governments can't give any privileges to man, only to businesses.
Oh yeah? Where'd you hear that?
But that's what it says in the Constitution. They can't make any law govern a man. Only thing.
Hold on, let me go to the record for a second. See what the record says about that.
There's a pen up there. Did I say if it was made to protect our rights, how can it give us any privileges?
We're gonna get to the foundation of this right now. Because somebody told me otherwise. That's what somebody told me. But the record states right here what is true. Corpus juris secundum. Right? I found it.
Oh, you did?
Now you're all in trouble now. Found the records. Corpus juris secundum, which for those of you who don't know what that is, that's the legal encyclopedia. You have your law dictionary, which is, you know, Ballantyne's, Bouvier's, Black's Law, etc., Barron's. And then you also have the Corpus juris secundum, which is an encyclopedia value of cases, as well as further definitions of words that are or that carry a legal and lawful meaning. Not only Corpus juris secundum, you also have the West Key Law legal encyclopedia as well, which more or less has cases in it. But this has cases as well as you know, definitions that takes the definition a little more extensive than the law dictionary will. Now, if you go to the law dictionary, the Black's Law 8th edition, which is, of course, a distortion of the previous edition, it'll give you a corpus juris secundum reference in there when you look a word up. Say you look up color of law, say you look up constitution, say you look up rights, or anything like that. It'll give you the definition. It'll also give you a corpus juris secundum correspondence so that you can go to the legal encyclopedia to further reference the word, right? Now, corpus juris secundum is laid out in values. Constitutional law, courts, motions, affidavits, public administrative procedures, etc. Constitutional law, right? Let's go to that body. Section 632. Generally, it says the basic principles of the American constitutional system is that all political power is inherent in the people, and that this inherent power exercised by the people under a constitution adopted by them. So now when you take that principle of the Constitution and what its purpose is, it puts all the sovereign power in the hands of the people. What they've done was they took the sovereign power out of the hands of the people. Well, what they did was denationalize the people. It's the importance of proclaiming your nationality. When you proclaim your nationality, you now have the sovereign power to enforce the Constitution and to amend it if you need to. This is why they don't use the Constitution. You go to some court jurisdictions and they'll tell you we don't go by that. It's self-evident. They operate under color of law. A whole nother jurisdiction outside of what's established as the supreme law of the land. That some of them take oaths to uphold and protect. Now when they take the oath to uphold and protect the Constitution, right? And then they turn you into a 14th Amendment citizen, you're still not stepping outside of their boundaries in a sense. Because they get you to contract with them. They get you to sign that birth certificate. They get you to sign that Social Security contract agreement saying that you are a 14th Amendment citizen. And that's another thing we're going to get into today. We're going to get into the presumption of a Constitution statute, which I have the record to verify. Right here, sitting in front of me. Now, when we hear various different people say all these things, it sound good. Sound good, it sound true. I got the record. Straight here from the law library. Copies. And I'm going to pass them around. Straight from the law library. Copies. Right? Now, those are the basic principles of the Constitution and what the Constitution is for. This is why they don't like to associate themselves with the doctrine. This is why they need to denationalize people, whether they're Asiatics or Europeans. They don't want you with a national status. Then we'll be able to start doing what the Mexicans do when they come over here and start setting up shops. What the Chinese people do when they come over here and start setting up shops. The Italians, when they come over here and start setting up Italian restaurants, and have people come from their own homeland working for peanuts to help them keep generating finances here. So they probably send some of that finance back to their homeland. The currency is probably worth more. You understand? This is what we need to have been doing. This is what those probably put in place when we established the old Canaanite temple, the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, and the Moorish Sonic Temple of America. These are the things he put in place for us here to do. But what do we want to do? Everything except that. We want to start running around arguing about who is actually following the prophet and who is doing this, that, and the third. We can argue about that later. Let's start taking back the land that belongs to us, then argue about that. All right. Now that was section 632 in the Corpus Juris Secundum, which that should answer the question that the brother Ab just asked. So now let's continue on with going over what we previously went over in the other classes. Anybody know what a license is? It's open for anybody, a license.
It can use railroads to do something.
Anybody know what juristic means?
in having jurisdiction?
No, not at all.
So,
Juristic, Juristic. What's the record?
Something that exists indefinitely.
Bingo. So if somebody calls you a juristic person, and let's just say you're just dealing with a court, and they put on a documentation that they send you, and they know you ain't familiar with law, this is what they do. They use terminology in the Latin language. Juristic is a Latin word, or Moorish Latin word. They know that we don't even know we're Moors. So, okay, we can use their language right against them. They think they blacks and Negroes, etc. They can send you a document that says something like this. Plaintiff, defendant. And up here to say the state of Delaware. And then here to say Carlos Jones. Now they can do something like this, and the majority of our people won't even catch this. They can put it in parentheses. Juristic person.
is that the definition of something that exists indefinitely?
Right.
Now, just to make sure I wrote it down.
A juristic person and a corporation are the same thing. Thing is, we don't know the terminology. So even if, not to say that this might happen, not to say that you might, get involved in a certain jurisdiction, whereas though they'll have to send this to you, but if they did, when they put this on there, how many of our Asiatic brothers and sisters do you think will catch that?
They don't know. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, before I started studying law, I wouldn't have caught it neither. I'm just thinking, oh, this is the law, and I broke it. Now I gotta pay such and such to such and such. That's what's going on in my mind. But studying law, you're supposed to break down everything up here with a law dictionary and the legal encyclopedia. That's why I like using the 8th edition Black's Law Dictionary. Now there are some distortions in there because it's a later edition. You need to get the 4th and beyond the 4th. The reason why I like using the Black's Law 8 is because it'll have the legal encyclopedia correspondence in it. So I use them both. But you're supposed to take everything or any document they send you and break it down, along with the pre-existing history that we went over in these classes. Anybody can tell me when the United States first became a corporation and under what name, in accord with the pre-existing classes. That was straight up Great Britain. I'm talking about after the Republic.
So once the main republic is active, second,
Is that prior to the Constitution?
After.
What's the question?
1787? And Constitutional
Constitution,
Convention
the
1787.
Constitutional Convention was 1787, right?
It was adopted as law in 1789.
The Republic was established when?
1789 when they adopted it?
When was the Republic established?
It was before that. 1781, right?
1791?
1781.
You about to celebrate a holiday, you probably gonna eat all types
July
of food,
4th?
cookouts and sodas and everything that kills you.
1776?
1776. Declaration of Independence. What the U.S. did, or I ain't even gonna say U.S., what the European sons did was proclaim themselves as